for today in the person of Tony Olasende. And so he's Tony. Tony Olasende is a product manager. He's a rising product manager with experience in building and managing fintech and edtech products in Nigeria. He's passionate about leading teams and building fintech products, cutting across digital wallets, cloud banking apps. And over the past 4 or 5 years now, he has served as a product manager and scrum master at several startups and companies. And yeah, he's a globally certified scrum master. I must also say a ClickUp ambassador. And yes, we're glad to have you here, Tony. Over to you.
Hi, Favor. Hi, everyone. Am I supposed to put on my camera just to be sure?
Well, if you would like to, we'll appreciate that.
Okay. Okay. Let me do this. Just to be sure that my network can handle this. Then, yeah. Okay. Cool. I think we can start. Okay. So quickly, I think I heard when Victor was saying something about his expectations for the session. So, well, I think I'd love to hear from someone else. So maybe I can take someone randomly. Maybe Glory. Maybe you can just maybe share your expectations for this session.
Okay, hello everybody. I'm Gloria and I'm like a creative virtual assistant. So I do a lot of task management. So when I studied the topic, I was like, oh yes, so this is what I want. My expectation is to learn a lot about ClickUp and how I can, manage my day-to-day activities and prioritize and manage all my tasks. So yeah, so that's why I'm here.
Okay, great. Okay, does any other person want to share? Let me take Omenogo. I hope I didn't mess up your name. I'm sorry if I did. Omenogo, please, if you can unmute yourself. Just want to hear what your expectations are for this.
Okay. Sorry, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, loud and clear. Fire on.
It's Omenogo.
Omenogo. Okay, so I tried a bit, so yeah.
And my expectation is to learn tax management and basically how to prioritize my time and how ClickUp is going to make me, should I say, I don't know the word to use, but better still arrange my tasks according to timelines and be able to be accountable.
Okay, cool. If I may ask quickly, right, directed to everyone here. So, do we have like team leads here? Like maybe you lead a team, or you have people that report to you, or you people are accountable to you for their task, either maybe cost of a project or while building a product. So it could be a product manager, a team lead, a business team lead, a founder, whatever. So just to be sure, we have that demographic of audience here as well. You can just maybe raise up your hand if you fall into that category before we move on. Okay, we have someone. Nice. Okay, nice. Okay, great. So you're at the right place. So yeah, let's get right into it. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. This is going to be a fully practical session. Don't expect to see any slides. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen now, first off. Then quick one, if you are with your laptop, then it will be good if you can sign up on ClickUp right now. If you don't have an account, I can drop you can just Google ClickUp, you would see the URL. Sadly, I don't have my affiliate link here, so it's not within my reach right now. But then, if you're with your laptop, that would be great. So you can just go right ahead and sign up, and you can start with that. Okay. So please confirm if you can see my screen. I'm going to just share it. Okay, I believe it should be up right now.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, cool. Okay, yes, so let's start. Basically, so let me do a quick run through. So ClickUp is basically a productivity tool that the goal is to help you save about 20 hours every week. And how does ClickUp help you do that? ClickUp helps you do that by providing you with a robust set of features that you can use to actually like stay productive and also save time and also have fun while doing it. ClickUp is I think one of the most colorful productivity tools I know. Aside from and so I don't so it doesn't sound like I'm biased, right? So I've used Jira. In fact, I started with Jira all my life. Then, in fact, I prefer Jira to Trello. So I've used Jira, I've used Trello, I've used Asana, I've used Monday a little bit. I've seen Clubhouse. I've not particularly used it, but then I'm a ClickUp person. So yeah. So to some extent, I've touched the waters. But what I always say is find out what works for your team. Cool thing is ClickUp works for every kind of team. So yeah, so that's it. That's what ClickUp is all about, right? It's a productivity tool. It helps you save time, helps you stay a little bit more productive. One of the things I noticed is that on first interaction with the platform, it seems a little, or it might seem a little overwhelming because of what you see, and then you're like, how do I navigate? What do I need to do? How do I do this? How do I do that? But interesting thing is that it's not particularly that bad, actually. It just has a lot of features that you need some time to gradually get into the group to know how to use them. And if you take some time to even watch some of the tutorial videos or even read some of their resources, it's pretty straightforward, right? So you don't even need to particularly take so much time to get into the groove of how to actually use the tool in the first place. So that is how ClickUp works, and that is just a brief overview of what the tool is about. Sorry, give me a second. I'm just trying to deactivate calls that stop the session. Okay, so yeah. So right now, as you can see, we are currently in a space. We're currently in a space on ClickUp. So I'll just start by giving you some definition of some of the concepts, or let's say some of the main things you need to know to get you started, right? So if you're with your laptop, your PC, I will advise that you try to sign up now. And if you signed up, just follow me, or let's go together. Just follow along. And also for people that already, I know there are some people on this call that already have ClickUp accounts anyway, so they can always just follow through while I'm talking. So now, interesting thing about ClickUp, right, is ClickUp offers you a hierarchy, right? First thing you want to do is, first of all, try to understand what that hierarchy is, right? To have some quick understanding of what ClickUp is, you need to understand what the hierarchy looks like so that you don't get confused. Now, so the first hierarchy is the workspace, right? The workspace is, for instance, while signing up, you will notice that the platform will ask you what workspace are you creating, so you can create a name for that workspace, right? So it means that you can have one email that is linked to about 8 different workspaces. By that workspace, let's think of that workspace as a company, right? So for instance, you can look at my profile down here, and if I click on this, you can see Instant Web. So Instant Web is the company here for the sake of this class. Instant Web is the name of the company, right? So if, for instance, I give someone else my email address, say maybe, I think there's a Naomi on this call. So if Naomi opens a ClickUp account, excuse me, and then while she's signing up, she sees maybe the name of our company is maybe Shop It, right? And then she creates a ClickUp account and she calls the workspace Shop It, right? Naomi can add me to our Shop It workspace, And when she adds me up to her Shopee workspace, what you end up seeing is whenever I log into my ClickUp account, whichever account I logged into last or whichever workspace I logged into last, I will see an additional workspace here, just here. I'll see Instant Web, then I'll also see Shop with Workspace. So I can easily switch between the workspaces, and that is one convenience that ClickUp gives you, right? So the first hierarchy to understand is the workspace. Excuse me. The next hierarchy after the workspace is the space. Now, a space is like, let me call it a group, right? Or maybe let's call it yeah, I think a group is the right word to use. So let's call it a group. Now, by a group, I mean like maybe where you have like a bunch of departments in it, right? So in that space, you could have what we now call, furthermore, we now call folders, or what we now call lists, right? So we could say the folders could be our departments and the list could be our units. Now, understand the concept behind it. The first level is the workspace. The next level inside the workspace, you can have dozens of spaces, right? And then under the spaces, you could have folders. And then beneath the folders, you could have lists. Now, because the hierarchy is arranged that way, the difference between all of these areas that I've mentioned, in a space, you could have multiple folders and you could also have multiple lists. However, also in a folder, just as the name applies, you could now furthermore have multiple lists inside that folder, right? So if I open this list, this folder now, you'll notice that you'll find out that there are some similar lists that have this kind of, you can see there's a list color, there's a folder color, and then you see this is a space, right? So if I open this now, just click on this drop down, you see that there's a list here. There's also two lists here as well. So that is what the hierarchy looks like, right? Let me quickly ask if that is clear, because it's important that I have everyone understanding of what I've said so far before I move on. Favor, please help me check the chat section if there's any questions so far. I just need to be sure that what I've said so far is pretty clear. Okay, if there are no questions, then I can go on. Okay, so after you understand that, the next thing you want to understand is the views, right? So ClickUp has a couple of views, and by views, I mean how you can visualize stuff, how you can see what you are doing, right? How you can see the kind of things that you're trying to draw up, right? So we have a list view, there's a board view, there's a calendar view, and there's a whole lot of other views that you could by yourself, open, or will I say add, so that you can actually like see what's for instance, let me open this. So you can see there's a list view, there's a board view, there's a calendar view, there's a Gantt chart view, there's a timeline view, there's a box view, there's a table view, and all of that, just like that. There are different types of views, totally up to you to know how you want to utilize ClickUp. So for instance, there's a chart view. So let me just open this. Let me not go to this yet, so we'll get to that section. So just giving you an intro. So there's a chart view, there's a doc view, there's an embed view that allows you to embed maybe a Figma link, a Google Sheet link, different things that you can embed, and it carries those information and puts them straight up in your ClickUp workspace, right? So that is all about views. Once you have an understanding of what the views are and the hierarchy, I think you're good to go. Now, the next thing will be, while setting up a workspace, you want to know how to invite people. Pretty straightforward. You just go to this section, click on invite. Even if you are signing up for the first time, you can easily just, it's part of the onboarding process. You can type in emails of people that you want to invite to your workspace. However, if you're already signed up and you want to actually like invite people, maybe it's an afterthought and you're like, oh, our team is growing, we need to have people on our workspace, then you can go ahead to add people to your workspace by going to this page. Just click on people, then go ahead to invite them. All you just need to do is to put in their email address, put a comma, and then you click on invite. You can also set if you want them to be members or you want them to be admins, right? So that's straightforward on how to invite people. Now, I know someone mentioned something about how to help, how they can use ClickUp to manage their time and all of that. So now, a good thing with ClickUp is, with ClickUp, you are able to actually, what's the word now? Manage your time, if that's permitted to use that word. So now, there's a notification setting on ClickUp that, in my own opinion, is one of the most useful tools, or one of the most useful features while using ClickUp. And now, someone used to tell me that if you, I think one of the companies I work with then, my manager then used to say that if you don't have a due date or for activities that you're working on, then you leave it open-ended, and yourself, you might not take it serious enough to want to close the activity out. So one of the things that ClickUp helps you do is to help you understand how to actually manage your time, utilize your time, and also to know when you have tasks that are due, overdue, and almost due, right? So now you can see in the notifications that there are a lot of notification settings that you can actually tailor to actually suit your own need. So for instance, if you are the type of person that whenever, so I know some of these nomenclature, you can ignore them in course of the training, you would, or in course of the session, you have an understanding to what it means. So for instance, for comments, whenever comments are assigned to you, do you want to get email notifications? Do you want to get email notifications when the comments are resolved? So let's assume that this is like for the comment notifications, and you want to, and all of these categories are just notifications under the comments category. So comments assigned to you, do you want to receive an email notification whenever a comment is assigned to you? Whenever someone, maybe a teammate, mentions in the comment, do you want to get an email notification? Also for tasks as well, do you want to get notifications when tasks are created? Do you want to get a notification when the assignee changes? So you can see the header here is task. Do you want to get an email notification, or do you want to get an email notification when the status of the task changes? When a task is assigned to you, typically you want to get an email notification so that you know that, oh, okay, a task has been assigned to me. And it's your choice. You can also uncheck if you don't want it. So if a dependency is, if a dependency is like waiting, maybe a task is dependent on another task, and then maybe someone moves it to done and all of that, and you now get a notification. This is what this is for. Even when a task is blocking another task, you also want to get a new notification. When a task is unblocked by a task, you want to get a new notification. Basically, that's what the email notification does. Let me get to the interesting part. Now, when you want to get a notification when the due date of the task changes. So for instance, you have a teammate that goes to ClickUp and then goes to change the due date of the particular task. And you want to get a notification for issues, for scenarios like that, because you don't want anyone to just go changing timelines and you don't even know what is going on. Imagine if you're running about multiple dozens of stuff, and then all you just want to do on ClickUp is just see the overview of what is going on. When timelines change like that, you might not know. So except if you are keeping a keen eye on those kind of things. So now you want to get a notification if a due date is overdue, you want to get a new notification. Also, before the due date, you want to get a new notification. When it is overdue, you want to get a new notification. Things like that. Basically, ClickUp helps you to keep track of your time, right? And that is all on notification. So let's dive right into setting up. So like I said, there is the hierarchy is more workspace, a space, and in a space you can have a folder and a list, and in that folder you can also have lists as well. So lists can either be in folders or they can also stand alone. So now let's try to set up a space, right, or multiple spaces. So what you need to do first things first is to click on new space. If you're already signed up on ClickUp, you might see a default space here. You might even see, I think the name most times is always space. So it's totally up to you to try to tweak it to suit what you want, right? Now, you click on new space and then you type in the name of the space. So let's call this, I need suggestions. Who wants to suggest? Anyone? Let me check the chat again. Okay, nothing yet. So I think I can just put in something. Okay, there's someone. Okay, marketing. Okay, cool. Let's do marketing. Right. And then interesting thing is you can have templates. There are a lot of templates that comes with ClickUp by default. There are dozens of templates for a space and also for folders and also for lists. You can just play around with it to find out which one works for you. But what I've noticed is that when people try to open a template, it always overwhelms them because it is always full. There's a lot of stuff. So you now have to tweak it to suit what you want. And that might be time taking. And you need to actually understand what ClickUp is about before you set up to start using templates. If not, you might just overwhelm yourself and chase yourself away. So what you want to do is to just try as much as possible to set up one space first. And then maybe when you go through the resources, and if you see something that you like, you can try to implement and see how it works for you. So I'm going to try to create two spaces. Let's do marketing first. You like to eat pizza and marketing, right? I don't know. Let's just say marketing. Let's use this. And then next. So to ask you now, which of the workspaces, remember that I said that my own account is only linked, my email account is only linked to one workspace. So that is why you can only see this. I mentioned earlier on that if now me also had added my own email address to our Shopit workspace, I'll most likely see that here, Instant Web workspace, Shopit workspace, and also private. So I'm adding this to my Instant Web workspace and I'm clicking on next. Now, the next part is where you now set up your what they call them now, your statuses. So if you're not familiar with that, what the statuses means is how you want to categorize your, like call them your activities. So for instance, if you are the type that says your tasks are in to do, in progress, in review, and done, cool. If you are the type that says maybe in your own company, what you guys work with is backlog selected for development, in review, UAT, push to production, or whatever it is. Totally dependent on how you guys work in your own team, right? So all you need to do is now figure out what works for you. Don't dive right into ClickUp first without trying to, do some thinking of, okay, how do you want to even set up first? So that one helps you to actually know what you want to do and how you need to go ahead. Now, like I said, one of the things that ClickUp helps you to do is there are a lot of templates already on ClickUp. However, if you don't understand what is for, the templates might be a little bit overwhelming and confusing for you. So I always advise that you try to create something first. Try to have an understanding of how it works first before you go ahead to start using templates, right? So now you want to go next to checking maybe I like to create my own templates, right? So I'm going to start with creating a new template for marketing. Or we can also go with this anyways. So there's one template here already, but I'm going to tweak it to suit what I want. So I'm going to remove this running. I don't think I need it. I'm also going to rename it to marketing templates. And then I can save it. Now, let's go back to it. I'm going to delete this running. Then I'm also going to add another status called done. And I'm going to just move it from here to this place. Now you can also change the color, like I said, change the color code, right? There's one more thing I need to add to this place. Let me say something called blocked, just in case. And then you can put it in red. And just move this above this. And then progress, right? You can use the yellow with this. The concept, I'm not sure I need this anyway. I'll delete this. So open, in progress, blocked, review, done and closed. Then we can go ahead to save the template. Now we have a marketing template. If you want a new template, all you just need to do is click on new template, Now you click on it, right? And then you can go ahead to tweak it. Notice that there's a notification for you here to now save the template. If you don't save it, you're going to lose this template. But that's not what we are doing. So we go back to marketing template, right? We can also delete this because we don't want it to exist. So we say marketing template, we are done with this, and then we go to click on next. Now, there's something called ClickUps. ClickUps are like extra tools, extra features that you can find useful in your space, in this space that we are creating. Remember, the name of the space is marketing, right? So ClickUps are like extra tools that you can actually add to, like, make your space more, make your that particular space more useful for you, basically. So maybe you don't want to have priority. I'll advise that you can always enable all of this. You don't need sprint. If you need it, you can enable it. If you want time estimates, sure, you can add that. You can also see a lot more ClickUps that you need. Then you can click on next. And then remember I mentioned the views. Now they are required views and they are also default view templates. So these are the required ones. You can choose to enable them. I know for marketing people, they like to see calendars, so you can enable your calendar. This box view is disabled because it is only available on the business plan. So you can also enable the mind map. You can enable the box, a table, what do you call it now? The table view. You can enable as you please, right? And okay, let's enable the map. And then you can, next thing you can see is you review the space. It's asking you if you're good, and then we're good. You create the space, right? So now that is all about creating spaces, right? Now by default, ClickUp will tell you, ClickUp will even go ahead to create a list for you by default. See why I said they want to make your life easy. Now they go ahead to create a list for you by default, and what they'll ask you is, do you want to start from scratch for this particular list? Because you notice that this is what you can see here, list. And we are also in the list view. Please don't get it confused. There are two views of the, will I say, the nomenclature, the name list appears in two places. It can be a view, that is one, and it is also a category of their project types, right? So there is, aside from the space and the folders and the lists, there's also another view called list. And the reason why it is also here is because it actually lists out your task as in form of like a list, like the way you write out stuff like on a paper vertically. So that is why it is called a list view. So so now remember, this list that is here is already here. So now they're asking you, do you want to start from scratch, or do you want to inherit the status and the views that we created for? Now it's going to ask you either for the space called web projects or for the space called marketing. So let's say for marketing, because that is the mother space that we created for, that will be that this list will carry. And then we can go ahead to apply, right? Now, once we've applied that, we can now see that list will have the same thing that we've actually configured for marketing. Open, let's go to the board view so you see what I'm talking about. We'll have open in progress block, review done and closed, right? So now let's go back to the marketing space. Next thing we want to do is now to create a folder, right? And how do you create a folder? All you need to do is just click on this plus sign. There's a plus sign here. So what do we call this folder? Let's call this folder, thinking about it, what do we call this folder? New folder. Let's call this folder communications. Or no, yeah, I think we can call it communications. And then we can go ahead to create the folder. And then voila, we now have a folder called communications, right? Cool thing about ClickUp, you can, once again, you can see it's asking you, do you want to start from scratch? By start from scratch, it means, do you want to start from scratch with the status, the views? Do you want to start configuring all over again, or you just want to inherit the configuration that you did for the marketing space? So we can go ahead to apply, right? And once we've applied that, it will be the same thing. Now, like I said earlier on, the folder is basically used to actually packing a lot of this into it. So if you have to do like a lot of, for instance, if you're a program manager and you have multiple projects under a program type. So say for instance, maybe you have a particular type of, you have different projects that are under a particular program. What the folder view helps you to do is to, what the folder helps you to do is to class all of those projects into that particular folder, and then you can name it as such, and everything can just be inside that folder. So now we have the folder and we now have a list in it. So let's check that list that we have in it as well. We can go ahead to rename it, right? But let me go through the first phase of actually creating a list. So you can also see how creating a list happens. Now you can go ahead to create a list either by clicking straight here or clicking straight here. So if you create this list here, it's going to be under this folder called communications. So let's click on this and let's say new list, right? You can call the list, what do you call the list? Content. You can create the list. Now, as we've created the list, once again, it's asking you, do you want to inherit this or this? And since communications carries the same, it carries the same hierarchy of marketing, sorry, the same status and views of marketing. We can as well just say, select this, or we can as well click on the drop down, go furthermore to select the precise element we want it to duplicate in terms of the views and the statuses. Remember that. So we'll just click on marketing and then we can go ahead to apply it. So now, how do we make this a little bit better? So content marketing, you can go ahead to add details. When you click on add details, you are able to put a description to what content marketing is. Blah, blah, blah. And then you can go ahead to assign this to one person. Sadly, I need to upgrade. So if you have this content marketing and this list is actually owned by one person, maybe there's a supervisor that needs to own this particular place, you can just assign it to that person and you can set a priority. And if it's something that has a due date, you can also set it. This is, anyway, this is not necessary, but if you need to set the due date for this, for instance, if this is something that is recurring and you will always come here, you don't need to actually set the due date, you can just do it. And then you can also have comments here. So maybe different team members want to talk about this particular list called content marketing. They can always even mention each other and say, okay, I have only one person here. So I can say, have you seen the latest updates here? So remember we set the notifications and there was a section for comments on the notifications. If this person, Toby Praise, had already set his notification so that he receives notifications when there's a comment assigned to him, or when there's a comment made and is mentioned in that comment, he will get an email notification saying, oh, Toby Praise, you have a comment, this, and you can go ahead to go and check it, right? And so we can close this and move on. So now that is us successfully creating a list. We've successfully created. One cool thing you can do with ClickUp again is to this list info. You can see there are different. You can copy the URL. You can rename it. You can create the tags directly from here. You can create some email instructions, and you can also archive it. Then so let's click on this info. It's the same thing as the same thing as what I was doing here previously. So let's change the color. Let's add some colors to it so it doesn't feel boring. Then we can close this. And close this. And you notice that the description I gave is already here as well. Now we can also go ahead to do something called slash instructions. Notice that when I do slash, you can easily do certain things. The slash instruction allows you to quickly access certain features. For instance, add a divider, a bulleted list. You can easily do different stuff with the slash instruction. So here we go, and then you can go ahead to say checklist. And then we're done with this. So now this slash command does not mean that you can only use it here. You can almost use it anywhere on the app actually. So you can also use it here in your comment section. You can use it when you are even describing a task and all of that, right? So let's close this. Notice that we can see our description here. And that is what the list view gives you over the board view. The board view is more like a Kanban board view. It just gives you all the tasks, information about the task. You can click on the task and go ahead to see what is entailed in that particular task. But this view actually gives you like a brief description. It shows you the description that you've written out. It shows you the list, the task in a list format, and you can also decide to categorize in separate ways and other things that you can easily do. Right. So before I go further, let me see if we have any questions. Does anyone have any questions so far? If you are lost, please let me know so I can just to be sure that we have everyone for you. The reason why I'm saying this is because I noticed that I could be a little overwhelmed. I won't say a lot, just a little bit. So I just want to be sure that I have everyone's attention. So if you're still following, just put it in the chat section that you're following. If you're not, let me know if I need to roll back. Please, your feedback is needed before we go on. Okay, we have some reactions there. Following. Okay, cool. Great. Okay, nice. So now let's go to the next thing. Okay, I think I see some following. Okay, cool. Okay, so now we've successfully created our workspace called marketing. We've successfully created a folder called communications, and we also have one list in it called content marketing. We can also, and then inside this marketing space, we have a list called list. So let's rename this list so that it doesn't confuse anyone. So we can just call it, let me edit the name. Sample list. There we can add, give this a color. Then we can close this. We can choose to move this into communications. You can see now that it is under communications, right? We can also give communications its own color as well. Give it to blue, and then we are cool. So now we have a sample list and content marketing inside the communication folder, and all of this is inside the space called marketing. Now, one thing that ClickUp will give you is you would have access to seeing, will I say, or how will I call it? So when you click on a space, or when you click on a folder, for instance, you click on a folder, it gives you everything involved in that folder, everything, right? So now you can see that we have successfully split the list. We have successfully split communications into two, because there are two lists rather in the communications folder. There's a sample list here, there's content marketing here. And the reason why you can see everything in one place right now is because we clicked on communications folder, and you can see that it's clearly highlighted. However, if you click on the marketing space alone, notice that it will give you everything as well under marketing. So for instance, if we have about 20 lists in this marketing space and 5 different folders, it is going to pack everything up and present everything to you at your own, in a glance. You can now decide to filter the way you want. Maybe you want to filter and say, I only want to see for communications folder. If you have another folder for, say, what can I call it? If you have another folder for, say, public relations, or if you have another folder for content writing, you can decide to, specify that by filtering it further by yourself. So it's totally up to you. However, if you're going to click on marketing alone as a space, it's going to give you everything under marketing. If you click on a folder alone, it's going to give you everything under that folder here. Same thing with the board view, same thing with the calendar view. Whatever you click on here will determine what you will see in your views. Now, if you click on the list precisely alone, you would only be seeing what is in that list only. Now, Yeah, what is in that list only. So now let's go to what we call custom fields and default fields. So I'm going to start by, let me show you this quickly. So don't mind me, I'm looking like this. I have a couple of things that I scribbled out, so I need to always refer to it to know so we don't go out of track. So now, let's start by creating a task in our sample list. So let's call it question A, question B, C, question D, question E. Okay, I'd like this to be a little bit interesting. So if you have a ClickUp account, right, can you just if you have a ClickUp with your email or whatever, I can just invite you to this space so we can can invite, add, and then it makes it a little bit more interactive. If you're interested, you can just drop a ClickUp email in the chat section, or I can easily just invite you. If you have your email, you can drop it in the chat box. I will just send you an invite. While we're waiting for that, okay, I have someone here. Okay. Oh. So I'm going to just go ahead to share this with this person. Okay, I can share. Okay, so I think I should be able to share folders. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, so I'm going to add this email to this. Next. And then I'm going to give you guest access. So you can invite guests. So for instance, if you are the type of company that you have different clients that you need to relate with, cool thing ClickUp gives you is you can give them access to their project. For instance, you give them access to their project on ClickUp and they only have access to see only that project. They won't see any other thing. So you can give them guest access. I can give them, I can only toy you around with the full access. So by the full access, it means that, so for instance, if you're on a paid plan, you can give the guest a view only access. So the guest, for instance, your client can only come in and only see. That's the only thing they can do. They can only see the task there and the status of the task there based on what you provided for them to see, right? And they can also comment if they are assigned to task. You can see these levels here, and then you can give them full access. So the full access means that this guest here, I'm guessing this is Frank. This guest here can create tasks, can comment on tasks, can move tasks, almost like my team member, just that I am is renting space here for a while. We'll chase him out anyway. So you can invite this guest. So Frank will get an email right now saying that he has access to this folder. Now, if he has access to this folder, what it means is that everything in this folder he has access to see. Now, I was saying something about, so now we successfully created some tasks. You can see 5 tasks here. We've created some tasks. We can go ahead to now add a couple of things I call fields. Now, by default, ClickUp already has fields that come with each task. There's a set of fields already, which you'll see now. Okay, there's someone else in the chat section. Access granted now. Great. Thanks. So there's a couple of fields that come by default on ClickUp, right? So you have once you click here, you will definitely see it, or even if you click on the task, you can see it. But let me just show you by this way. So you can see this plus sign here, just click on it. You would see by default that there's some things here. It says create new field, and it says this is where all the fields on ClickUp are. The comment field, the created by field, date close field, different type of fields, and then pull requests for people that have integrated ClickUp to maybe their version control software. Maybe you're integrating ClickUp to GitHub, GitLab, which other one do I know now? Yeah, so if we are integrated to any of that, you can easily add your pull request field to this list. Now you can add the start date. All of these are by default. However, these ones are the ones that you've marked here. As you can see assignee, due date, and priority. Now, assignee, due date, and priority have been checked. Now, if you want to see more, you can add comments. Notice that comment is already added now. Notice. Now, if you want to see more, all these ones here are hidden. So maybe you want to also add, you don't need to add status because status is already there. You want to add the date closed, right? Notice that it would also reflect here date closed. You cannot check it. Cool. Now, the good part is you would also see what we call a custom field library. So this custom field libraries contains fields that are totally up to you to use as you please. Now, if you're on the free plan, ClickUp has a limit to the custom fields, like the usage of the custom field, and that's about 100 uses. So if you use once, like if you use a custom field called Dropdown now, and you use that custom field once, like after you've integrated it to a list called Dropdown, and then you use, I'll show you now what I mean. So let's say we want to have, let's say this is for our client management, and say we want to have the location of our client, right? And we say location, right? Contact location, you can add the column. We've successfully created a view. Let's say we want to also add the email address of that client. You can see email address, and then you can add the column, right? So successfully now we've successfully created different columns or different custom fields that we've added to this list. Now, it's totally up to you to use as you please. If you want to add more, you can add to it. If you want to add money, you can add to it. If you want to add number, phone number, people, a progress bar, a rating. Okay, I like to also add, let's say since we are using this for client, let's call this likelihood of business. And let's say add column. So now you can move this to say, okay, the likelihood of doing business with this customer. So we can add the customer's location here. You can always say maybe, let's say Lagos, Nigeria. We can add the email address and call this, let's put the email address, hello@treford.org. So we can go ahead to add another location for this client. Let's see, Ogun State, Nigeria. You can go ahead to say Lagos in. Okay. Let's add maybe San Francisco, and then we can add the email if we want. And then that's it about your custom fields and also your default fields that come in with your task. Now, let's go to the next thing. Now, if you go to your board view, right, you will notice that all of these things we've created here will also be here, but they are going to have a different look. Now, let's add due dates so that we can make this a little. We can make this August. I'm going to go ahead to just assign some of these things to our guest that we have here. Now, and cool thing is you can assign to more than one person. So for instance, if it is myself and Frank that are working on this, I can assign to both of us, and you can see that both of us are here. One thing that ClickUp has that, I mean, not many tools have really. So we can add due dates, right? Then we can add a priority. So for instance, this always comes by, you can choose to remove this. If you don't want it, just right click and hide the column, right? And it's removed by default and delete the field. Now, like I said, every field for the free plan, every field, if you're on the free plan, you're limited to 100 uses. So what it means is that now I've used this place once here or twice now, so that's 2 already. I've typed here, that's 3. I use this one, I use this one, I use this one. That's 1, 2, 3. So if I change this again to another location, that's already another view by default. That's another use rather by default. So we can go ahead to see our board. How does it look like in the board? And let's say Frank is already working on this guy and it's already in progress. I like to use a drop down. Let's say this particular lead. We can call this. Let's call this. I'm trying to think of what we can call this. Okay, hold on. Okay, currently in progress, right? So right now we can create something called a drop down, and we can say we can call this drop down. Let's say business stage. Business stage. So let's say first meeting. Right, first meeting is done. We have sent proposal, send proposal, then client agreement, projects in progress. You know, like that. You can, and then we can add all the columns like that straight up. Now, maybe you want to edit the field because I like to have colors. So I like to use the colors. I mean, if you have it, why not just use it? So now, one more thing, you can always move. There's a lot of possibilities in ClickUp. So you can move it here and say, okay, business stage is a little more important to you than even the comments. So you can delete the comments and move it away. Business stage, we are still at our first meeting. It's not concluded. Please don't mind the tackiness of how I'm trying to, I just want you to understand how it works, and then you can, tweak it to what you think works for you. Right. So let's go to the board view. Let's move some of these things already. Let's move them to a review. We can as well click on it and move it from here. Or you can click on it and select where it should be. You can say this is blocked. And then, cool. Now you can go ahead to describe. This is a testing task that will require XXX. Now, like I said, you can use your slash commands anyhow you want them. You can always use them. You can always utilize your slash commands. You can add a table, bulleted list, divider, whatever you want. You can add to this. Now, you can also go ahead. Remember, we had some custom fields. Typically, if we did not add those custom fields, you will not see them here. So the reason why you can see this custom field here, by default, if you have a task on ClickUp, you won't see this custom field, except you deliberately add them and customize to your list or your folder the way you want it. So now you can see here that we have custom fields. You can choose to edit the way you want and say the likelihood of this client doing business with us has increased to maybe has dropped to 6 or 5%, right? And then you can now go ahead to create subtasks. So let's say subtest 1, subtest 2. As usual, you can always assign multiple tasks to multiple people. You can always assign one task to multiple people, I mean to say. So Frank is a guest, but you can see that he has access to do certain things. So for instance, if the kind of work you do will require your client to do certain things for you, your client will need to maybe make some purchases, do some things here and there. Okay, I can see some in the chat section. Okay, what does the command likelihood of business represent? Do you want to explain? Frank, favor, please can you unmute Frank so you can ask this question?
Yes, Frank can go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you so far. So I actually saw you drag the bar from 5% to 25% and on and on. Is there any particular
Is there any particular one?
Is there any particular figure or dimension all of those
Yes, it
you
is.
present?
Yes, is over 100. When I was setting it up, I set the maximum as 100. You
So
should have seen that
100 or 100 being what and 5
100
being
being 100 being the likelihood of this client doing business with us is sure, and
okay
five
in for
zero.
the future reference.
So more like, so when I was creating this, I created this with reference of saying that, oh, this is, we are trying to manage this particular, we are trying to see what our customer, let's say like our CRM, mini CRM looks like, and then we are saying the likelihood of this customer doing business with us is 5 right now. So it means that this customer, either we need to press further on our sales and find ways to actually convert this customer into a paying customer, or we these are signs that we need to let go and just let the customer be, and just ensure that we are maybe providing what I call it marketing materials as we are sending out our emails. This client should be getting our emails, that kind of thing. So it was just an example, basically. It could be anything.
Okay, but to have these assets, then all the customers you need to have this access.
No. So this, maybe I mixed it. So this likelihood of business, it doesn't mean that you need your customer to have access to this. I mean, this is for you. So the reason why I added you to this was so that you could, like, it could be a little bit more interactive. I would have options to add more than one person to a task. Basically, that's why.
All right,
So
all
if
right.
definitely if it is for internal use, you won't have likelihood of business for your customer to see, of course. That is
All
not
right,
in
I
your
get
customer
that.
to see, definitely. So yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, clear. So you can create some task. As usual, you can add multiple people to that subtask, and you can also go ahead to add a checklist. So for instance, if this checklist, you can say, um, this is the, let's just call it, I don't know what we want to call it, but maybe you need to add a checklist and call it the testing checklist, and then you can edit the name of the checklist, by the way. So let's rename it to checklist 2. And then you can check 2, check 3. So maybe you have a stage for doing certain stuff with regards to this particular task. You can decide to list them as a checklist and mark them when you're done, right? If you want to show all the completed tasks, you can just reflect them here. Now, if you think that it is not just a checklist and you would like to have a task, a subtask rather, under this particular task, you can go ahead to create that subtask. Also go ahead to click it open. And then you see the same thing that you did before. You can go ahead to describe it. Go ahead to select the likelihood of business. This is just an example. You can delete it if you don't want to. You can also add a checklist. However, in a subtask, you can't add another subtask in another subtask. What you can do after you have a subtask is now to maybe have a checklist. That's the only thing you can now have again that breaks it further. So in a task, you can have a subtask and a checklist. However, in a subtask, you can only have a checklist. However, you can assign a subtask to multiple people as well. You can also set the priority of the subtask as well. So now, good thing is the comment section. You can always mention people, mention your team members, depending on what you need to access. So let's go back to sample list. Let's click on testing B. I think that's where we are. And we can mention, go ahead to mention Frank and say, hi, Frank. Please have a look at this. Right? So if Frank already set the notification, Frank will get an email automatically. Now I can decide to assign this to Frank and say this comment to, I've assigned it to Frank. When Frank attends to it, he can come here and click on it as result. Or I can also come here and click on it as result. We can also start a thread around this. So all of us can start commenting around this particular item. Maybe we have 5 team members and they don't agree to this thing that I've said here. We can create that thread and just continue the communication line here. And then when we are done, we can just resolve it or just click on delete and delete it. Now you can have a due date for this particular task, which you can see here. So now that's for this your task creation and your descriptions. Now let's go to another view and see what it looks like in the board view. Now, with the board view, what you can see, a typical Kanban view of what is going on in a board format, right? Now, you can see the statuses: open, in progress, blocked, in review, done, and closed. Now, you can go ahead to break it further. There's something called, there's this, let's see this. Yes, okay, subtask. Now you can click on this to, you notice that we have a task with subtask and even checklist here. Other tasks we've not created subtasks for them, but this testing B has some subtasks in it. Now, what do we need to do? We can't see it, but we know that there are subtasks here. All you just need to do is just notice that there's a figure, there is 2 written here. It means that it has subtasks. Now, if you want to see all the subtasks that have subtasks, what you just need to do is click on subtasks. Either you expand all, or you create them, or you click on a separate task. If you click on expand all, it's going to expand it for you. By default, you are going to see all the subtasks under that task. Now, if you click on a separate task, it's going to separate it. But what you will notice is that there's still testing B at the top because that is the mother task. And there's still testing B at the top because that is the mother task. So that way you have an understanding of which task is what, and even though they are separate. So what separating it means for you is that you can easily identify them as separate tasks. However, if you link them together or if you collapse them, it won't see all of them. You need to open to actually access. Now, another thing you can do is to set the priority here. You can also add tags to them. Let's say we want to call this, let's call this tag, you can add this tag and say, let's call it business. You can create another tag and call it, what other tags can we call it? What other tag? Let's use, so you can create different tags, right? So what the tags does for you is just help you identify what is what. So for instance, if you have if you're in software development team, for instance, or even if you're a content team and you want to identify that this content, or maybe this is a content that we created, and you want to say, oh, this is for social media, you can use the tag and say, okay, social media. The other one that is for email, you can tag it with email, the tag for email. The one that is for blogs, you can tag it and say blog, right? So that's that about the board view. Also, you can also add what we call dependencies on your board views. So for instance, or even in ClickUp generally, you can add what we call dependencies. Now, by dependencies, what I mean is that before A can be done, before B can be done, rather, A needs to be done and A needs to be completed, rather. Before C can be done, B needs to be done and be completed. So you can do all of that by clicking on this, and just go ahead and show you again. Even if I close it, I'll always see it. So you notice that there is that three, for some of these tasks, they already have them showing, or you click on these more options, you see dependencies, right? So you can click on waiting on, blocking, or is linked to. So we are on task, let me click on task D, okay, for instance. Let's say task D is dependent on, is linked to task C. So we can say task B is linked to task C, and we can say done. And then we can also say that it is waiting on task B to be complete. Where are you, task B? Okay, it's waiting for task B to be complete, done. And then it is also blocking task E. Did I have a task E? Let me check. I don't have, okay, yeah, and it is also blocking task E. So it means that this particular task D is blocking task E from starting. And then it is also waiting on task B to be complete. So now, let me give you a typical example of what can happen. Remember that this particular task is waiting for task B to be complete. And this is task D that we are on. So let me go ahead and move task D and say task D is done. You can notice this. It says dependency warning. This task is waiting on another task to be completed. Are you sure you want to change the status of this task? By default, what that does for you is that it makes you understand that, wait, oh, let me quickly go and check what this task is. So what setting your dependencies does is that it gives you prompts, necessary prompts, and also helps you keep in track of what is going on. Especially if you are the type of person that likes to use the Gantt chart view, you are able to see what is dependent on what. So let's cancel. And that is that basically about the board view. The calendar view shows you pretty good for marketing teams. You can see all the tasks. It also gives you a view of all the, oh, hold on. Let me go to August. Yes, cool. So it gives you an idea of all the tasks. Let's say we want to, so it gives you an idea of all the tasks, their due dates. This is the task that we have: testing A, testing B, testing C. You can see the ones that are dependent, the ones that are blocking. You can easily click on them from here. If you want it to be a little bit more elaborate, you can also set the start date for each of these tasks so that it will start from somewhere and end somewhere. So you can actually go ahead to do that. Now, if we go to map, remember that we set locations for some of the tasks. Now, what you can see now is, let me zoom out. So remember we set a client and said this client is in San Francisco. So that is why you can see this dot here, testing C. Cool. Now, if you want to see the client that is in, I think we said we have one client in Lagos, Nigeria, or two of them or thereabouts. So let's zoom out. Let's zoom out to Africa. Notice this. Now, you can see that these are the two. I think we have about two. So you can see testing A. So that's that about the map view. If you would like to explore other views, pretty cool. You can explore as many views as you would like to. It's pretty cool. So yeah, that's that about views. Now let's go back to our list and let's see what more we can touch on, right? So now we've talked about the custom fields, we've talked about a couple of fields. Now let's explore a couple of more stuff. Now, the cool thing about ClickUp is if you like to filter, if you like to group, if you like to break down stuff a little bit further more, right? ClickUp allows you to filter tasks. So for instance, if you want to filter by tag, filter by due date, filter by priority, let's say priority, so we can have some more information that we can play with. Okay. Low. Let's call this low as well. So now let's filter. Let's say we want to only see the tags that we want to filter by priority. You filter by priority, where priority is, you want to remember that we have about 5 different priorities: urgent, high, normal, low priority. So you want to say where priority is urgent, right? You can see now that you can only see tasks that have urgent priority. Now, if you want to only see the tasks that have both urgent and high priority, ClickUp will easily provide you with that. If you want to only see the tasks that have maybe no priority at all, you will see that I don't think we have any of those. You can just uncheck the others. Uncheck the others, and here it says, so you can clear the filter, and then you're back to seeing all your tasks. Now, if you want to see the tags that are maybe owned by a lot more people in your team. So for instance, maybe you want to know how much work each person is doing. Sadly, Frank is not a member of the team, he's just a guest, so I might not be able to do much with that. But let's go to group by. So group by, what it does for you, remember this is the group. We've grouped by status, which is review, blocked, in progress, open. Now, if you want to group furthermore and say, okay, you're grouping by assignee, it just groups by assignee. So here you can clearly see that Frank is working on 2 items. We have 2 items unassigned, and we have Tony and Frank working on 1 item. If you go to the board view, I prefer to use the board view for my groupers anyway, because it makes it sweet. So let me just change it and say group by assignee. Now I can see clearly that it seems like Frank is a person working that has a lot of tasks on his plate. So maybe I should try to give him give him some slack, cut him some slack by not giving him too much more to handle. And you can clearly see that Tony and Frank, they are also still working on one thing, and that's the only thing Tony is working on. And we actually have two tasks that are unassigned. What do we need to do? So it begs us, it leaves us begging for answers to, okay, how do we access or how do we solve this unassigned problems, unassigned tasks? Now you can also set by due dates. If you set them by due dates, what happens when you are grouping by due dates is you can see the ones that are overdue, the ones that are due for today, the ones that are due for tomorrow, Tuesday, and then you can see the ones that are due for the future, the ones that have no due dates. So that way you can easily know what is what. Then by default, you can also, go and, what's the word now? You group it by the business stage. Well, let me go back to my status, right? And I like to also filter by task, filter by status, filter by tag, filter by priority. Sorry, excuse me, guys. Let me just ensure that I don't have any distraction. So you can filter by priority, filter by comments, filter by created by, there's a lot of stuff that you can do basically. So you can filter endlessly. One interesting thing that I did add, I'm so sorry. So you can create a document, right? You can create a doc view. So let's say, for instance, this is where we want to house all our documents regarding this particular project. We can call it the project document warehouse. Now, you can format as you wish, as you decide, as you want, as you desire. You can have your headings and say trial. You can make it bold. And then you can go ahead to now start. You can use your slash command. You can do whatever you want, right? Now, cool thing about this is you can decide to put a page in a page, and you can end up having mother pages, child pages, and all of that. All you just need to do is to click on add a page, right? Now you can see this. You can decide to say, and say this is the child page. Child page, right? And then inside that child page, if you think that you still need to break further, you can go ahead and say child page. This is me just messing around anyway, but then I think you understand what I'm trying to do. So you can, keep creating more pages in a page. If you just want to maintain just one page for everything you want to do, or you think you can break this down and say, this can have another child page. Cool. And then you can go ahead. So you can see that these are the child pages of this project document warehouse. You can, minimize that, pull that drawer back, and then you can mention stuff. Here we go. Yes. Highlight and comment and say, hey, Frank. Mention Frank. You can mention Frank here and say, tackle this. And we can click on comments and we are good to go. So what that does is that Frank will get a notification, he will see this and he'll be able to address this as soon as possible, right? So we can click on resolve and we can move on from there. Now, another view that I find pretty interesting is the chat view. Now, I like to see this as a Slack channel. So, so think of anything you can do in a Slack channel, or not anything you can do. Most of the things you do in a Slack channel, like communicate and all of that, you can do that here. So once you create that channel, let's call it CRM. So we've successfully created a chat view, and what we've done to people that are familiar with Slack, you notice that there's a hashtag here. So what we've successfully done is to create something like a Slack channel where we can put in comments, chat about stuff. Yeah. And then everyone that is in this list will see this. They'll already have seen this step. In fact, once they get here, So they can see this, so they can come here and say, oh, okay, what's going on? And then they can see the chart, and then we can go ahead to reply. People can go ahead to reply me, and we can just continue the thread from here and just use it as our own Slack channel. So what ClickUp has been able to do is to just be like all in one tool. So that is that about views. I think I've touched upon views a lot. So now let's do a little bit something a little bit more complex. So now let's try to see if we can run a sprint, for instance, using ClickUp. So I want to first go to my ClickUp and enable my, for people that like dark mode anyway, you can always have your dark mode for this, for your sidebar. However, if we have the desktop application, you can always enable dark mode. Everything looks, takes the dark mode settings. So let's go to ClickUp. I need to enable what we call sprint so that we can follow through. So like I said, the ClickUp is what like has a lot of, what do you call it now? It has like different extra features that you can enable into your space or your list or your folder, as the case may be. So now we have collaborative editing. It's enabled already. So it means that Frank and myself, we can be typing at the same time and editing that same doc view that I showed, the document that we're working on, we can work on it at the same time. Now, I'm looking for ClickUp. I can easily just search. Now, you can, let's enable this. And we enable this. Perfect. So now, let's go back. Okay, so now let's go to, let's create a space. Let's create a new space. I like to create a new space. So let's call this shop it for the application, right? Next. Let's go with this, and then let's go with next, and then let's go with review space. I think we are good to go. Now, perfect. Now we have this shopping mobile application. I'm going to go ahead to create I won't say I'll create the sprint folder immediately, but let me go ahead to create a list for let me call it our backlog, right? Our general backlog, or we can just call it our entire to-do list for the sake of other people that are not software inclined here. So I'll just call it to-do, or for the sake of software people, we can call it our backlog, right? And then we can give this a red, right? Now, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to pack this up with different tasks. I'm going to say task 1, task 2, task 3, 4, task 5, task 6, 7. Right. Now, I'm going to also go ahead to, is there anyone else that has, anyone that wants to volunteer dropping their email in the chat section so that I can add your email and send you an invite. And I can also, add you to this place. Anyone? Anybody? Okay, cool. I have someone. Great. Okay. So I'm going to add Victor now to this backlog so he sees everything that is happening here. I'm giving him full guest access. So I'll close it. Oh, great. So now we have our to-do list, our long list of to-do. And then we can also now go ahead to create what do we call it now? Let's go ahead to create our sprint folder. Okay, I need to enable the ClickUp for this, for sprints. So let me change this space to have, I don't think I edited the sprint app to have, so yeah, you're supposed to edit this to ensure that this space carries the settings for you to carry out sprints. So you can review the changes and you can save it. Great. So now we've successfully done that, right? So next thing now is to go ahead to create a sprint folder, right? So now you can see new sprint folder. And how long does the sprint run for? 2 weeks. When does it start? Monday. How many sprint estimations? How do you go ahead with this? Do you use time estimate? Do you use points? Do you use custom fields? So you can leave it as points. Then what is your sprint name? You can leave this by default anyway. You for automations, you can leave this out because you're on the business plan. You can't particularly, sorry, because you're on the free plan, I can't particularly touch this right now. But if you're on the business plan, you can always set automations. So what happens is at the end of every sprint, so if your sprint starts on Monday, by default ends on Friday, the automation tool would automatically roll up your sprint. Once it's Friday, you don't need to go and say sprint complete. Once it's Friday, I think Friday night or Saturday morning, before the new week, anyway, before the new sprint starts, you will just roll up your former sprint, mark it as complete, carry over all the outstanding tasks, take it to the new sprint. So let's save settings. And here we have it. We have a couple of, oh crap. So now we can create new sprints and we can select the date for our sprint. When do we want our sprint to start? Maybe next 2 weeks. And how many sprints do we want to create? About 8. So you can go ahead to create sprints. Now, what we've been able to do is that now we have a sprint folder carrying about 8 sprints. However, how do we now ensure that we have tasks in those sprints? Because now they are just empty. There's nothing there. It doesn't carry anything. It's pretty much empty. Now remember, the reason why we had this to do or this backlog here is so we can pack all our tasks and just load them up here. Our idea bank, this is where it will be. Now, what we will now be doing is to do what we call adding to list or adding to list. So for instance, we are doing our sprint planning session. We said, oh, Franco, Victor will work on this. Toby will work on this particular item. Tony will work on this particular item, and we're supposed to finish it on XXX dates. We set the priority of these items and mark them the way we want. Set the due dates. And then we say, okay, so yeah, one more thing we're supposed to add. We can go ahead first. When we get there, we'll go back there. So let's assume, okay, we are saying, okay, these items are the items we want to complete in this particular sprint. So what do we do? What we can do is to just take this and do something what we call add to list. So you come here, you click on add to list, right? And you select the sprint, the first sprint, right? And remember, we can click on the drop down. So you click on the drop down, click on the sprint folder, open the clip, make sure you click on the first sprint. So now we are not moving the task, we are adding it to a list. What add to list does is it mirrors the activity of that task from whatever it is, it copies it. It's like a duplicate, it duplicates it there and also duplicates whatever action that happens in the other place where the task is from. So what we've been able to do is to now mirror that this task 1 to 3, we mirror it and add it to our sprint 1 and say, oh, now if we go to sprint 1, we would see the 3 items there. Remember, we didn't see anything there, right? Now in sprint 1, we can now see the 3 items here. And cool thing is we can now add story points to say, oh, what are the story points? How many story points is this activity? Is it 1 story point? Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 5? Is it 8? Is it 13? Whatever it is. You can add your sprint points to that. Now, let's try to do something. So let's say Victor has started this task in the course of the sprint and it's already in progress. Victor moved this task. Now, we are going to go to the backlog and you notice that task 1 is already in progress as well. we did not have to come here to do it. So what we've been able to do is we have a central backlog where we pack all our tasks, where we pack all our ideas. We can even separate design and have separate. However, we want to have we can have a general backlog for everything we are doing. This backlog might even contain everything on design, everything and all of that. But then we can create another list separate for designers, and then we can just duplicate them and just put them in our backlog and just add them to the list. So what we've been able to do is to separate concerns, and we have a central backlog and we have a sprint folder. There's a folder dedicated for our sprints. So at the end of every sprint, we see the tasks that have been done, the total sprint points of the task. You can see the sprint points here, 12, the duration of the sprint, and all of those things, right? And that is what the sprint, that's what we are able to do with sprints on ClickUp, basically. That is one way you can actually go about your sprints on ClickUp. It's pretty easy, actually. So that's that. Before I go too far, let me wait if there are questions, either on YouTube or on Zoom here. Okay, people, do I have any questions, or does anyone want to ask any questions, specific questions that I can help with?
Yeah, so I can't really see, I'm only on my end, I can only see the to-do backlog. Is it because you
Okay,
haven't
yes,
shared?
that's because I've not added you to this folder. So if I add you to this folder now, you should also see that as well. Remember that I only added you to so let me, let's say, editor Joe. I'm giving you full access now. So if you refresh now, you should actually see it. So I just shared the folder with you. You should see the screen folder. There you go. So that's all about using ClickUp for sprints. Pretty straightforward. Now I'd love to go to one other thing that you can do with ClickUp as well. If you go to your home, right? What you will notice is your home contains a couple of things that more like it contains your activity. Right? As you can see, this guy is chilling. So for instance, if you have any task that is due for today, this is where you will see it. In fact, my work, you see it here. If you can see that the tasks that are overdue is already showing that these tasks are actually overdue. If you have the ones that are coming up next and the tasks that are actually on schedule, you see them here. This task, the reason why you can see this as trending is because this task is the task that we've used the most. Like we've made comments there, we've done stuff here, we've assigned, we've carried out a lot of activities here, and that is why the task is trending, right? And then you can add your most important tasks, you can add them here. Now, if you want to also see your calendar, you can have a brief overview of what your calendar looks like here. That's basically some of the things that you can actually do with the tool called ClickUp. Basically, that is that about this. Now, I think one of the things you can also do is touch base with the dashboards. So what the dashboard does is this. Let's go to dashboards. Let's try to add a dashboard, right? Now, with the dashboard offers you with what we call more like let's use the word visual representation of things happening maybe in a project or in a list or in a folder or in a space. Now, with the dashboard view, you are able to have something beautiful to see. And quick glance, you know exactly what is going on. So now, if you're on the paid plan, you can actually like play around with a couple of activities or with a couple of dashboards here. For instance, on the sprints dashboard for the widget, you can see a couple of useful widgets that you can use for burn up, burn down charts. You can see your lead time charts, cumulative flow charts, velocity chart of the team. Sadly, it's on the business plan. So if you want to explore this, you can just pay for the paid plan or business plan. You are able to explore the usefulness of these charts. I want to just show us what it looks like with this particular chart. So let's say workload by status. Let's workload by status for, I can't remember the name of that. So we set a location, right? So you can choose to select marketing and mobile application together, right? And then we can say group it by status, all statuses, yeah, group it by, because they are different, it might be hard to do that because there are two different statuses with two different status types. Some of them do not have the kind of status that I set here. You remember, I set the one for marketing, but for this Shopit application, I set it as a, what do you call it now? I set a default, another status settings for it. So let's just use one. So let's say marketing, and then let's use, which of them should we use? Let's just say, give me everything, right? And then we can, do we want to include the subtask? Of course, include it. Yep, and then we can add the widget, right? Once we add the widget, you're going to see a pie chart of the workload by status. You can see how many tasks are still open, how many tasks are in review, how many tasks are blocked, which ones are in progress. And then you can also go ahead to export it. And then you can export to PDF, PNG, as you decide, as you desire, right? And that's like a quick glance or a quick overview. I hope I've not bombarded too much information, but I hope you have some understanding of how to actually like carry out stuff with ClickUp. So I'll be expecting questions now. I'm hoping I can get your questions. Any question? Any question? Any question? Please don't be shy. Okay, I'll assume that you have Jagabans in the house already, right? So I'll assume everyone has it. I think maybe I'm a good teacher at them, so I think I did I have done a good job. So yeah. So Favor, do you have like maybe any questions from anyone on YouTube as well? See if there's anyone that has questions to ask.
No, currently there's no question in YouTube. So
Okay, now I can see someone in the chat section. Okay, so would you say ClickUp is much better than Notion? Oh, cool. Now, I won't say much better, right? So here is what I think. If you are hell bent on tracking maybe you're a project manager, right? I would say for the sake of project management, stick to ClickUp. For the sake of documentation, you can stick to Notion. That is just my own perspective around it. I hope I answered your question. Okay, great. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I think there's someone else in the chat section. What of Jira? Of course, you can use Jira, but here's the thing, right? So from time that me, I've even used Jira. I use Jira a lot at some point. So here's the thing. So think about it this way. So let's say, for instance, you are the program manager of a company with about 20 clients, right? 20 clients, and each of those 20 clients have about that. The company has 20 clients, and you guys, your team is about 50, right? And your team of 50, you are split between different clients. So one of your team members can be handling 2 or 3 of those clients. Trust me, it's going to be a lot of work to handle all of that with Jira. I have tried it before, and it didn't look as organized as I would have loved it to look. So easily with ClickUp, I can class all those clients into one folder and play around with it the way I want or the way I think deem fit for me to be able to manage the process around project management or managing that product or that project or those projects as the case may be. So if I call engineering team alone, right, Jira is good. Don't get me all wrong. You can use Jira, right? But I prefer to use ClickUp because me, I'm a ClickUp person. So yeah, that's just it. So you can always use Jira, of course. I just feel like Jira has this engineering feel to it. It is so engineering, like so hardcore. I think if I can use that word. So I just prefer to go with ClickUp. It's a little more welcoming, little playful, not so rigid. I think that's what I'll use. Ajela, did that answer your question? Great. Okay. So what else? Okay. Any extra resources or links you recommend for? Yes, I can recommend. Favor, can you please drop that link?
All right. Okay, so the link is in the email. Like there's going to be a feedback email after this session, immediately after the session. So the link is in that email.
Yeah. So yeah, so with that, Frank, you can always like play around with tools and you will be able to explore the possibilities of ClickUp. Yeah. So I think what we've done today will actually help people to get started, right? I think what we've done today will be enough information to get you started. Also, everything you showed, is it available for you? Of course. I think the actual upgraded my account a bit from ClickUp's end. I can't remember now, though, but most of the things I've done today, you can use them on the free version. A lot of the things that I showed today, you can, not all, you can use on the free version. Okay, who else? Any other questions? Please, you can ask now because I know that there are different data bands, there are different bosses there. I like to just, or maybe I'll just assume that people are still trying to maybe process the information, or they want to, because I'm interested in people engaging me and say, oh, this and this, that and that, and then we can discuss around that. Okay, Favor, I think that will be all from my end since we don't have any more questions.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Yes. So without, I think, is there any questions, more feedbacks? Feedback, sorry.